Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to terrifying Bearland. Now, this video is because I'm really starting to get angry with how wokeified half of our population at least has become. And I'm not even sure if it's wokeified, it's more like Disneyfied. At the moment, there's this huge craze going on, this meme. What would you rather encounter in a forest? A bear or a man? Unanimously, the fairer sex have all said bear. Now the first thing this tells me is now they all see man bad. Without question, instantly, man bad. It used to be orange man bad, now it's just man bad. But let's ask, where do these people live and what sort of life experiences have they with nature? Which is what everyone seems to be talking about with all these eco and climate activists and save our planet. They all seem to think that the bear is the safer option. Because if you ignore it, it ignores you. Pozor means warning. Bears are not little cute Disney things. They literally eat you alive. You are alive and screaming while it is ripping flesh and crunching through your bones. Not always, it's a rare occurrence, but that is what they do. Because bears are omnivores. They're not predators like wolves and big cats. Most predators kill the prey and then eat it. Bears don't. Bears just hold you down with their massive paws filled with claws and start ripping flesh from you. As someone who lives in an area where there is always the potential to meet a Eurasian brown bear, which is very similar to the American grizzly, who would I rather meet, or what would I rather meet in the forest? The answer these women and lots of men as well have said, that they'd rather meet a bear than a man, shows they don't spend any time in nature, in a forest. Because if I met a man in a forest here, chances are he's a forestry worker, he's mushroom picking, he's a hiker, he's a bird watcher, someone who's just enjoying nature. And yet, this fear porn has been driven in to urbanites all across the Western world, that man bad. It's insane. If you ask the same question to women living in this area of eastern Slovakia, what would you rather meet in a forest, a man or a bear? The answer would be completely different. They'd be like, are you mad? Just being here. I can tell you, like I said to my friend Big Mac last night, it's puckering. When they have to put a warning up, it means there is a problem. And Slovakia has had a few very rare bear attacks in the last couple of years. They seem to be escalating because of the large population size. Now, I love nature. I mean, I truly love nature. I spend a lot of time in nature, and I spend a lot of time trying to understand those creatures we share our planet with. Animals, birds, insects. And I have huge respect for creatures such as the bear. It's like with wolves. At the moment, my area is going through this wolf explosion. Just the other night, I was in my back garden with my kids because the dog was going mental at the back fence about some animal we couldn't recognise in the dark. And suddenly the entire forest, from one side to the other, erupted in howls. It was mind-blowing. And there was this primal fear it instigated. It's something etched inside you. And I see this modern woke generation. Now you have wolfkin. People who live in cities who believe they're actually wolves because they've never met them. Maybe they've seen them in a zoo. I love wolves. Wolves for me are the epitome of freedom and being wild. And like you all know, be free. But you've got to remember what a wolf is. A wolf is a very large dog. And what does it do? It spends its life killing. It spends its life chasing down much larger prey, like red deer, killing them and eating them. Yes, they have very complex social structures. They have their own form of language, both bodily and spoken. They're amazingly intelligent creatures, which is why I love them. But they're still a very large dog that kills to live. It's its raison d'être. Dressing up like a wolf and going, how? You're not a wolf. A wolf would just, well, firstly, run off, most likely. But now we're getting pack sizes of 17, 20 running around. They start getting hungry because there's so many of them. There's an old saying that by the time you've seen a wolf, it's already seen you 100 times. So they normally veer away from you. It's very rare you see a wolf. Very, very rare. They can smell you from a long way away. They can hear you. They can see you. But it's another one of these creatures which has become fictionalized, Disneyfied in the West, because people have no contact with real nature. Which brings me on to these eco-warriors and climate activists who spend their entire times in city centres blocking traffic, wearing sort of plastic orange vests because they want to save the polar bear on some iceberg. What about the animals in your area? Do you even know what they are? I can list every single animal I have seen here, and I could tell you where they live, what sounds they make, and I could tell you which ones have gone. I could tell you the birds. Please tell me what birds are in your area, what birds should be in your area, what insects. When I see these climate change, pro-nature warriors surrounded by concrete, sitting in a Starbucks with an iPad in front of them, on their iPhone, drinking their Starbucks out of a styrofoam cup. What the hell? Why aren't you in nature? If you love nature so much, why aren't you becoming part of it? Why aren't you getting to know nature? The smells, the sounds, the animals, the birds, the insects. Why not? Just stop oil, yet virtually everything you're wearing and using is made with oil. It's an oil byproduct. Start with the grassroots. Get out in the woods. If you live in the UK, there is literally nothing in the woods that can harm you unless you have a particularly belligerent badger or maybe a hedgehog having a bad day. There isn't even any rabies to worry about. I don't know if you can see that. It's an emerald bug. Really cool. The number of times I hear in these interviews with people on the street, something is a societal construct. I'm not going to say what they list. They're just regurgitating because they have no personal experience. They have no self-responsibility. They're just saying what is in to say. And it's really, really sad. Be a part of nature and you will understand nature is not Disney. The number of times I hear arguments from vegans and vegetarians, they don't want to kill animals because they love nature. I believe in their philosophy that we shouldn't be mass farming animals. It's disgusting. Purely for profit, where they're kept under horrendous conditions. I've worked on a chicken farm, I've worked on a pig farm, I know. But there are other ways to raise livestock. Like used to be here, where every house had a pig and they fed it scraps or the remnants of vegetables that they'd grown in their own gardens, until that was banned. No, you can't do that. Now pigs have to have vet's appointments and hormonal treatments and antibiotics. It became more expensive to keep a pig than to go to a foreign-owned supermarket and buy some imported white pork meat from the other side of the globe wrapped in plastic. The arguments that you love nature so you won't eat animal flesh, that's insane. I am surrounded by beautiful creatures which just kill each other. There is an entire ecosystem of one thing eating the other. The only creatures of any size that don't eat other creatures are herbivores. Out here mainly like roe deer, red deer. You can't count wild boar because they're omnivores. If a wild boar finds a baby deer, a fawn, hiding in the grass, it'll eat it. If it finds eggs, it'll eat them, because they're omnivores, like bears. They'll eat anything. So you got the deer, maybe you got the hares, and they live their life in fear, because their only existence is to feed the predators walking around which want to eat them. The lynx, the Eurasian lynx, stunning creature, but they need to eat upwards of 50 roe deer per year. And roe deer are these little cute things with brains smaller than rabbits, which normally hang around in groups of 3. And I watch them from when they're born, growing up, and slowly 3 becomes 2, 2 becomes 1, and then poof. When night settles here, and these little herbivores, what these vegetarians or vegans want to be, when they're standing there in the dark, their fear must be insane, because there's so many things that want to eat them, because this is nature. It was Sir David Attenborough's birthday the other day. Stunning man. My entire generation was raised on his hard work. But he's caused controversy in the past, especially about God. Because people say, look at God's work and the butterflies and pretty flowers. And Sir David Attenborough, I believe, said something about, what about the little parasitic worms in children's eyes? Because that is nature as well. The only way these millions and millions of very, very confused individuals who we are cohabiting in society with will understand nature is by leaving the city and going to spend time in the forest or even in the country. Just go to the countryside. It doesn't need to be some deep forest in Eastern Europe or in Alaska or Canada, the Australian bush. Just go to the country, you'll see it. The entire ecosystem of one thing eats another, and it just goes round in a circle. There are lots of animals which we see from a human perspective as being cute. We anthropomorphisize many, many creatures. For example, the other day I was cutting the lawn, or cutting the grass, in the front of the house, and a giant great white stork walked across the road in front of me because they have no fear. They've come over from Africa for the summer. They have no fear whatsoever. And while I'm trying to film that, I see a pine marten, actually a stone or a beech marten, just wandering up the road towards me with a big scar along its back. where it's had numerous fights, probably with feral or wild cats. And that had no fear, because they're mean. It's like a miniature Wolverine. It's of the same genus. But it looks cute. It looks cute and furry. But it's not. In the UK, pine martens are seen as some, a mythical creature. Out here, they're a pest. They run around in your attic. They kill your chickens. They eat all your eggs. We've just had fledgling season where all the nests of field furs and magpies and all the various birds, the eggs were in the nests and starting to hatch. And that's what this pine marten was doing. He's going into the trees, eating the eggs or eating the fledglings. Because that's what they do. They're just 24-hour-a-day predators. But you don't understand this until you live with nature. I think more should be done in schools, in the education system, instead of filling children's heads with absolute tripe. They should be shown, they should be taken on field trips to live with nature, spend time in tents, listen to the sounds. These young people, they're being lied to and they're being fed information which is just bollocks. And it's really, really sad. Man versus bear. I won't even go into how man built society and keeps it running, because that just seems to be irrelevant. Because in their fantasy they don't need this. They can somehow survive. Good luck with that one. Anyway, I won't apologise for the rant. As always, be free.